We are excited to be launching our next podcast series, which is interviewing Golden Hoodie winners from around the world who've got amazing Trailblazer stories. A Golden Hoodie winner is somebody that Salesforce has recognised as being a true Trailblazer, somebody who gives back but also is an expert in their domain. And we can't wait to share these stories with you. Tune in, listen, and be inspired at these amazing stories and give them kudos on social media for everything they've done. And what I would recommend is definitely tune in and follow in their footsteps. Enjoy, and we look forward to getting your feedback.
If your leadership team is pushing you to deploy Agentforce yesterday, you already know the real challenge isn't the AI itself, it's the environment you're building it on. To orchestrate autonomous workflows, you need to feed your agents deep, flawless context about your metadata and business processes. That's why Hubble created the intelligence layer. We give you total operational clarity, telling you exactly how to clean up and structure your org so your AI actually works. Stop guessing. Build Agentforce with absolute confidence at hubble.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Mums on Cloud9 podcast show. We're delighted to have you here. And this week, we are focusing in on another Golden Hoodie winner story. I'm delighted to have Karmel James here, who's been telling us a little bit about her story in the background, and I can't wait to share it with you. Karmel is based out in the DC area, and she was recognized as a Golden Hoodie winner for her work really inspiring and supporting the community. So, Karmel, over to you. Please tell us a little bit more about your story and why you ended up on stage with a Golden Hoodie.
Oh, thank you, Heather, for that lovely introduction. So I was never, I think, like as a lot of golden hoodies, you never try to win a golden hoodie. So it feels very like surreal when it happens to you. But the reason why I received it was because in the DC area, I was attending as many Salesforce events as I possibly could. I went to World Tour every single year. I was attending every single user group. I am a self-taught admin, and I was showing up at the developer user groups. Why? Just because, like, it was knowledge to learn. And so showing up as an admin in a developer user group, I understood what that fear was like to show up in a space that's not really meant for you. And so something that I was always trying to do once I was really acclimated into the Salesforce user group was to make sure that if I saw somebody else who was sitting by themselves or kind of felt a little bit out of place, I would just make it my own opportunity to welcome them, to be like, "Hey, are you new here? I've never seen you before." And they'd say, "Yeah, this is my first time." And I'd be like, "Great. Why don't you sit next to me?" And they're like, "No, I can just sit in the back." And I'm like, "No, we sit up front. Like we're going to take this first seat right here. I'm going to be next to you." And I would just try and make sure that anyone who was coming into the Salesforce community felt welcomed, because to be part of the community means you need to be part of the community. And when you're showing up in any new space, it can feel really overwhelming. It can be fearful. You're sitting there thinking like, "Oh, are they going to accept me? They know so much more than me." And I wanted it to be a place where we dispelled all of the myths that just because you've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for a very long time means that you're on a pedestal and people can't talk. No, that was nothing we were doing in the DC area. So we just cut that out and said, "No, if you're here, you're part of the community and you deserve to be in this room."
Doing that, like, how did you get sort of identified as that person should get a Golden Hoodie? Because it's very, it's incredible you doing that and taking the effort, because you say it's very daunting and sort of making all of it. So how did that even come about and somebody sort of recognize what you were doing?
So I was recognized, or I guess found, by Gilda Hilaire. And I was found during COVID, right? So that's kind of a hard place to still be part of the community and be showing up. But what ended up happening was I was co-presenting with Chris Zulo at London's Calling, and it was a pre-recorded video. So we just got to actually show up to our own presentation by listening to this video and just answering questions in chat. And Chris had always had a relationship with Gilda because he was a marketing champion and she's head of the marketing champions program. And she reached out to him and said, "I'm sorry, who is that co-presenting with you?" And he's like, "That's my old coworker, Carmel, like." Yeah, and she's like, "Where sorry, why did you hide her from me? Where has she been?"
Mhm.
Um, and I really took that as like, "Oh, that's a lot of stage presence coming from a pre-recorded video." So that was kind of her start of watching me and asking questions behind the scenes of like, "Hey, what is she showing up at? How is she participating?" So Gilda started inviting me to different events to attend as well, and I just kept doing that same thing of finding the people who were kind of on the outskirts and trying to make them feel as comfortable as possible to say, like, it does not matter what level of Salesforce you have. If you showed up in this room, you are a Salesforce professional, and that's really all that matters to us. You don't have to feel like people with more experience are better than you. That's not how we do this. If you're gonna be in the community, be the community. So she just continued to watch me from behind the scenes of showing up for people and just trying to be as welcoming as possible. And one day she's like, "Wonderful. DC is having a world tour event and we need you to speak." And I was like, "Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I can do that. Why not?" And conversations kept taking place. I kept interviewing with a lot of people at Salesforce, and they're like, "Wonderful. So you're going to show up at this time. Gilda's going to take you through everything. By the way, you don't have to come with makeup on. There'll be a makeup artist. So they'll get you all ready." And I was like, why would I need a makeup artist? What Salesforce? What are you talking about? Okay. So yeah, so I show up fairly early, full of makeup, and they in the front at World Tour, and I'm like, "I don't know what's happening right now, but I guess I'll tell my story," and I do. I tell the story, and I sit back down, and I think that this is really unique because I think it was a mistake on their part, and that's okay, Salesforce. It's really okay. It actually added to the thing, added to the actual like event. They forgot to give me the hoodie.
Oh, no, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, so I go up, I tell my story because
Oh, no.
they're always trying to find, like, a trailblazer in that city. I tell the story, I feel great, I sit back down, I'm like, "Ah, I'm done." And then they keep going on, and they're like, "Yeah, and you know what? As part of World Tour, we always like to acknowledge those who are champions." And this w in there's a whole video, but, they're like, "This one was on us, but Carmel, we need you to come back up here." And I was like, "Well, no.
No.
No, you said I just had to speak in front of this very large crowd, and also you recorded this. I'm done." And I go up there and I'm like, "Okay, no one told me about this part." And they're like, "Because of all your hard work showing up in the DC network, here is the golden hoodie." And I wanted to cry right there. And I was like, "Hold it
I
back."
bet.
Oh, there
Wow.
this is live and people are on camera because it was
It's
such
so emotional, isn't it?
it
Wow.
is. It's
Oh,
such an honor because it's not something you work towards. You're just showing up for your community. So,
doing what you
I
do.
love this.
In the spirit of AI clones, we need a Karmel James at every single paid user group. We're just gonna clone you. I think every user group needs that, and I think it's such a commendable thing that you've been doing. And Gilda knows so many people, so for her to spot you and see what you're doing and to award you, definitely, definitely, what an achievement. Well done. Always gives me goosebumps hearing those stories.
Amazing. And I think from my side as well, Carmel, I was super excited to talk to you today because I think you're me with blue hair, I think it's something that you have where you go in and you want to wrap everyone up. I know I've always been the same with my children as well. If they're sat on their own and they're not talking to anyone, I'll bring more children in to talk to them. So I think it's something that you learn over time, isn't it? And I think as well, hearing your story and knowing that people like you, I mean, something that I always say is when you walk into a room with loads of people in there, everyone is feeling the same as you. So I think it's absolutely good to think of it like that. But what I'd like to know from you, Carmel, is you came from chemistry. So why did you particularly transition into Salesforce in the first place?
oh, that is my favorite part of this story because this was an accident.
Okay.
Salesforce was not the original thing on my mood board, right? When you're going through college, you're like, I'm going to be X. Salesforce was never there. It was not even a thought at that time. So I did. I graduated with my degree in chemistry and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I like to say like I was that kid who went to college because it was the thing to do, but you didn't know what you're going to do after. I'm like, I don't know. I'll get a job doing something. And and I did. My first job was at a nonprofit here in the Washington D.C. area in Silver Spring, Maryland. And at the time, I was an assistant. I think the title was coordinator. So I arranged flights. I booked hotel rooms, right? I kind of kept the trains running on time in our office and in the organization. And at the time, my boss was working with a Salesforce consultant to take our very custom, uneditable database. As then when I say uneditable, I mean you could enter something in and then you could never modify it.
Oh gosh. Wow.
It was there no delete, no it was just there. And so she was like, "We need a new database." And they had chosen Salesforce, so she's working through this.
Mm.
She has me prepare for a data migration, which I didn't know was a data migration at the time. I know nothing of Salesforce. I know none of these terminologies. I'm just learning along the way. And then she ultimately left the organization. And my new boss is like, "Hey, you really like technology. This is yours."
Mm.
I was like, "What? This I don't know what Salesforce I've never I'm a chemist. What do you want me to do with this?" So that was my start on Trailhead of just reading and doing as many trails as possible to try and like get up to speed because I felt like I was behind. She had had a whole year with that consulting company. And by the time I got to it, they were gone. They had implemented, and I am left on my own to learn. But as a scientist, I was like, hold up. I can do anything. I'm a scientist. Why am I afraid? I know how to research, right? Like I got a problem, I state my problem and I go research different solutions. And it just kind of clicked once I got it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this architecture, the object architecture, it makes sense. Yes, this is why you've got separate records for account information versus opportunity information." It all just fell into pieces and then I was like, "I'm never leaving." You wait, people do this as a whole job? I would like that job. How do I get that job?
Right.
Yeah, which is why I kept showing up at Salesforce events. I was like, I need this to be the thing that I do for however long I do it.
I love that. I think we all have that one moment though, don't we? I think throughout everything, you doing all of these things, I think everyone has that one moment. What was your one moment when you realized, wow, I've changed my career?
I think it was getting my first consulting job.
Oh, wow.
So that in line, so I was at that nonprofit and I thought, "Oh, no, I can still do nonprofit things and Salesforce." And so I went to a different nonprofit. And as I kept attending user group meetings, in
Mhm.
fact, this is how I got this job. This is when they say you got to be in the room where it happens. This
Yeah.
is that exact moment.
Love it.
I showed up to a Salesforce Saturday. We were in somebody's office and they had a whiteboard. And there was a woman, Lisa. She worked at a nonprofit here in DC, it was a diaper bank. So it was helping make sure that moms have access to diapers, formula, like all of the things that they need. And she was like, "Hey, I have a question." Because I was just helping everybody. And she's like, "What do you think about us using products for our inventory?" So we're just sitting here whiteboarding out solutions of like, why use existing standard product functionality versus building a custom inventory versus looking on the app exchange to see if there's another product there. Unbeknownst to me, someone who was working at the consulting group who I eventually took a position with was watching this whole situation happen. And afterwards, she came up to me and she's like, "Have you ever considered consulting?" I was like, "No, I work in
Wow.
nonprofits. Why would I do that?" But that was the seed that was planted
That's
in the
it.
back of my mind of like, wait, You're telling me I could just do Salesforce all the time
Mhm.
and that would be my only job? Huh. So yeah, after a couple of months, I reached back out to her. I was like, okay, say I was thinking of leaving nonprofits. What would that look like? And 3 interviews later, I had a new job. I
I love the way everyone's following you around, Carmel.
You never know who's watching though,
You
you know,
don't.
because when you show up for work, we always say that, with our students, when you go into a room, always put your best foot forward, if you're meeting clients, because you never know who's watching and learning. And then, like you say, they offer you a job rather than you have to go out and get a job.
correct. And that was the first time I had never applied for a position, right? Like there was actually no formal application process. I met with 3 people and then they were like, "Here's your offer letter." I was like, I thought this kind of thing only happened in movies. So it is really true of like you have to be in the room where it happens. A Hamilton reference. I love it. I can't stop watching it. But it's also a testament of showing up to user group meetings, to really any Salesforce event, and going back to like why I do all of this, of making sure that people feel comfortable. Because if you're not comfortable, that moment can't happen for you.
Mm.
Um, because yes, people are watching you. They want to see who you are and what you're really good at, not the things that you're bad at. Don't lead with what you're bad at. Lead with what you're good at, because that's going to be the thing that people want to hire you for.
And I think
And
you're memorable, clearly.
I think the hair has something to do with it. The blue hair is definitely, there's not many of us, but yeah, that's my story. That's how I've gotten to where I am. And I'm very thankful of the people who I like to call my foundation, right? Everyone who I've met throughout my career who have just said, "Hey, have you tried this? Have you considered that?" Just having those conversations with them has opened more doors, more windows, more avenues than I could ever imagine. And it just takes being willing to say yes through the fear of not knowing what's on the other side to trying it to get to where you are.
Yeah, it's about making a great impression, isn't it? And I think, as you say, going back to your point about the blue hair, going along to a networking event, obviously it can be your hair, but it can be what you're wearing as well. Like wearing something bright, yeah, pink. I've always been mindful about putting something on bright or that's something different that stands out that gets people's attention at events. So I've worn an orange dress before, and then we've got our pink jackets that we wear at Supermums now that really stand out. And so it is, it's about standing out, and sort of, it doesn't mean you have to be an extrovert necessarily, but also participating, talking to people, networking, as I say, being curious. And actually, Lynn did a presentation at London's Calling, and it all is about ask them questions. It's not about you, but be curious about them and be an interest. So I think all of those things that you've shared, Carmel, are perfect. Is a great strategy of how to just step out of your comfort zone, but network, and how that can lead to success. So talk me through, obviously 10 years you've been with Salesforce now. Talk us through what that journey has been for you, what projects you've learnt, the types of companies, what you've learnt along the way.
So I like to say that I am a general surgeon of Salesforce.
Mhm. Love that.
um, and that's simply because I love Grey's Anatomy. And when you think about specifically Grey's Anatomy, which now everyone has to go watch the 22 plus seasons that are out,
Love that.
general surgeons have to know a little bit about everything, right? They don't, it's great if they are experts in neurosurgery, but that's not their focus, right? Like they know enough to get the patient out of danger, and then they will pass them off to a specialist and said, "Hey, look, this came up. I drilled some burr holes. Pressure was relieved. I knew to get a CT scan, but like I'm not doing brain surgery, right?" But you need to know enough about the whole body to get it done. And throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to learn about a lot of different companies, a lot of different industries, right? I started in nonprofits, but it's not where I've stopped. I went from nonprofits to consulting, and in consulting, I got to still work on nonprofits, but I got to expand into SaaS companies. I got to expand into associations. I got to expand into private equity. And one of my last in house roles, I expanded into the healthcare industry. Currently, I'm working at a financial advisement and management firm, right? So like I just continue to span whatever industry is available because I like knowledge. I like learning about things that I haven't tried before. And Salesforce is super versatile where I know the platform. I know the platform in and out. Now I just have to learn the business. And I think for a lot of people who are listening, if you're willing to learn, people are happy to have you there because that's what they want to know. They want to see that business analyst skill where you're going to learn what their problem is and what is the solution that they need. And if you can make that happen in the system, they're going to be so happy. So that has just been the span of my career of just saying yes to new things of like, no, I've never done healthcare before, but yeah, let's do it. Like I can't wait to learn, and then I learned, and I was like, "Ooh, HIPAA is real. That is we will not be violating those rules."
Love it. It's really nice to hear. And just to elaborate a little bit on what Heather said, you've come a long way. It sounds like, I mean, I always talk to people about finding their niche, but like you say, you need to know the whole body as well. I mean, that makes perfect sense. But in terms of the evolution then of everything, everything's going in a direction. I mean, what particular, how are you with AI? What have you learned? What tools do you like? It's always nice to understand when we talk to people what particular tools they find with their particular role.
Yes. So I'm old school
Yeah.
where I want to learn how to do it the hard way before I learn how to do it the easy way. So AI is here. It's not going anywhere. And I want to say unfortunately, right? Because I also want to acknowledge that there are some really real social and societal implications to AI.
Mhm.
So that is also near and dear to my heart. I want to recognize that we have limited resources on the earth and that AI does play a part in that. But I will learn something the hard way first so that I can recognize how the tool is saving me time, right? So I do sometimes use AI to just gut check and say like, "Hey, I need to understand what the benefits would be for this new thing that I don't know anything about." Right? Like I said, I like to learn about new industries. So sometimes terms come up that I don't know. So I will Google search it first, see what shows up, what are the other articles, and then once I have that as a baseline, I will put it into AI and ask the AI the same question and be like, okay, they're aligning pretty well, right? Like I'm not seeing anything that is too conflicting. I'm not seeing anything that is overtly, what's the word I'm looking for? Just opposite, right? Like it's not opposite, but it's that research background as a scientist that helps me ground myself in understanding, can I trust what AI is saying against the resources that I have found myself? And are they matching? Are they not? How do I make the determination of which one to trust? So, from that critical thinking standpoint, AI is a supportive tool, but I am old school in that understanding how something works, even if it takes you a little bit longer, is more likely to teach you something else that you did not know and could never have known versus AI is going to give you the answer, but can you fully appreciate how that answer came to be? So, yeah, I know. I'm everyone is like gung ho AI, and I am over here like a little skeptical of like, yeah, I'll use it, but only after I did my own research first.
But I think they're really important points, Camille, because a lot of people, we obviously help people relaunch their career and start their career, and people are like, oh, well, these roles going to exist. The reality is that still need people behind the scenes understanding and managing everything. And yes, AI can help speed something up, but actually it's the core skills and your core understanding. As you've said, you need to know and understand everything you're doing on that. So I think it's very valid what you're saying.
Thank you, Heather. And Lynn, it's a great question, right? People need to find the tools that work best for them.
Yeah, and I think that, with all the agents and AI in the world, no one is going to bring someone from the back to sit at the front, are they? Unless they're human.
Yes.
One of the questions that came to me was obviously you've been on this journey, you've gone into different roles and transitioned industry experience, which is great because then you're not obviously selling yourself in on the industry experience. So, how did you get the different job roles and how did you sell yourself into them if you didn't necessarily have all the relevant experience?
That is a great question. It goes back to being the general surgeon of Salesforce. I know this platform. I understand that if you take away all of the additional clouds, let's just say we start with Sales Cloud. I understand why it functions for a business, right? I understand why you need accounts to represent the organization itself versus why you'll individually have a contact. And so it was about just putting my foot forward and saying, like, I am not worried about needing to learn about a new business process. And it's the business analysis skills that I think is the thing that I market myself the best when I'm changing industries or I'm looking for a new role. Because at the end of the day, help.salesforce.com is effectively my Bible, my Torah, my Quran. It's the thing that I'm reading inside and out. I like to download the option for the PDF whenever you're on the product documentation page and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to read about agent force revenue management. I download the whole PDF and I'm just reading it, right? I'm going to read how Salesforce intended the product to be used because from that, I can then go through and understand how to implement a customization. So I like to say that I've got a strong foundation in Salesforce, and then customizing it is just, I got to learn why you want to customize it to give you the best solution of how to do that.
That makes sense. Absolutely. I think developing those skill sets around business analysis means that you've got the capability of lending yourself into any of those roles. And did you find the jobs, did people come to you and headhunt you, or did you apply for different roles, or was it through user groups that you found those other jobs?
I would say it's a combination. Some of them have been where I've just cold applied. I didn't know anyone, and the timing just happened to work out. So that's how I got hired. The other times it has been I've attended user groups. That's actually happened to me twice now. I attended a user group, and I just happened to be speaking, and someone heard me and offered and said, "Hey, why don't we talk a little bit more about this role?" Other times it's been recruiters who've reached out on LinkedIn and said, I think you, based off of what you've put on there, I think you'd be a really good interest, right? You've got 7 certifications. It seems like you constantly are learning. Just see if it matches, right? You might not say yes at the end of the interview process, and we might not say yes, but we'd love for you to go through it. And so the best advice that I could give to anyone is you have to know what your strengths are,
Mm.
right? I have no problem building flows. I love flows, right? I am happy to learn how to be a developer. I can read Apex, but I don't write it, at least not well. But if you know what you're really strong at and you're willing to put that out there, I think the right people who are constantly looking are going to see that and also ask you to participate in things and say like, "Hey, consider it." And I'm going to be the person to say yes, right? Like, it's really easy to say no and shut something down. But, like, say yes because you don't know what's down that path. That's why they're asking you. And so it's being open. And then also, I like to keep a running email address. I've got one email address that's actually used for all job boards, newsletters. That's how I stay up to date with like what's happening in the industry from a job market perspective. It's just constantly running so that even if I'm not in the market at the moment, I can at least know what's happening and then give advice to my friends who are like, "Hey, I'm looking." And I'm like, "Oh, I saw a role. You might be really good for this." And then pass it their way. Or if I see someone post something on my network in LinkedIn, if my friends have already told me like they're looking for a position, I'm going to look at it and be like, this is not a fit for me, but you should apply. Do you also want me to tell them your name so that you might get a referral? So it's just all about being open and putting yourself out there to see what opportunities come to you, but also proactively searching for them too.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I think everything you've talked about today is all about helping people, bringing people together. And, I'm sure that when you walk in a room, you light the room up because you've got such a lovely smile. And it's just so nice to hear this story. And I absolutely love what you're doing.
Oh,
Keep
thank
doing
you, Liv.
it.
Well, I mean, eventually one day I will come to London and then we can hang out, right? And then
We'd love
it's
that.
both of us lighting up the room and people are just going to be like, too bright, too bright. You the two of
Gotta
you.
come to our Super Mums event, Karmel.
Love that. It's so nice.
Got our 10th anniversary this year, so September. I'm just trying to get a very special person to come and speak at that event, but to be confirmed. But yeah, we'd love for you to come. And actually, we've got quite a lot of Supermums. Over a third of our Supermums audience is in the USA, so we must make sure that they connect in with you and come to events because they're all people that are starting out. And we want to make sure that they have the confidence to go to local user groups, particularly if they don't know other people. So I'd love to connect some people into you and make sure that go and find Karmel with blue hair. Find
Yes.
you.
Love that.
Absolutely. And I have to say, moms are my favorite because they're mini CEOs. And mini is actually probably a derogatory term. They really are just CEOs of their house. Like, my favorite is meeting moms who are trying to get back into the job market. And I'm like, you already have executive leadership experience. What are you talking about? You have to negotiate with tiny humans on a daily basis. You're managing household budgets. Like, all of these skills are transferable. You're really just limiting yourself because of the title mom, but that's called
Absolutely.
CEO of a family.
So true.
Oh,
Especially when they've got teenagers, I might add.
yeah,
Yes,
in there.
they are the best and the worst.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Karmel, for joining us today. It's really inspirational. Thank you for everything that you've done for the community. You absolutely 100% deserve the golden hoodie. And so we're so pleased that you got spotted and say we'd love to be able to meet with you at some point. Hopefully we'll come over to DC. But we'll love watching everything that you're doing. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather and Lynn. This has been such a great experience to talk this over with you and to share knowledge in hopes that the other super moms go out there and continue being super moms.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Carmel. Lovely.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. Please do reach out to Karmel if you've got any feedback or any questions for her, and we look forward to seeing you on the next podcast show. Thank you for listening to the Mums on Cloud9 podcast today. We're delighted to have you here, and we can't wait to help you have a career in life that you love. We launched the podcast because we wanted to help women get insight into inspirational stories, advice, and experts from people around the world. Over the last few years, we've spoken to many people who've shared insights, and we want you to learn and to benefit from this to accelerate your own career. Please do share the podcast show and what we do at Supermums with anybody else you know who you feel could benefit too. We want to say thank you once again for joining us, and please do let us know how you get on and what you go on to achieve after listening to the show today.